Hi, welcome to Quirky Queens Journals. My name's Kirsten. So this is a gel print that I made in a previous video. I will link that video in the description box. So I thought let's update it and add more to it because I really liked this gel print. It's quite a simple, strong composition, and I thought, it'll be ideal to try and add to sort of experiment with. So what I'm trying to do is sort of add a more 3D look to it by creating what I think of as form, by almost trying to give, as if there's parts of the design that looks like they're sort of curling around each other, they're overlapping each other. So what I'm doing is I'm looking for points where I feel that I can connect a shape to another shape in a way that feels like it would add something to that would bring them together. I'm not just randomly choosing points. I'm just looking at it and thinking, where would this join well together? And also, where would it make it look more 3D? So, what I'm using here is high flow acrylic paint mixed with high flow acrylic medium. However, you can just use normal acrylic paint mixed with water. So the kind of triangle shapes that I've added in, I have done that with charcoal, and then that is a kneading rubber that I have sitting in the top right hand side, that grey blob, and what that does is it helps remove the charcoal from the page. I removed some of the charcoal and some of it stays in, some of it mixes with the paint. But you don't want big, thick, black lines. Not all the lines to be big, thick, black lines. So I've been kind of looking at Cubism and how with Cubism they draw objects from different angles. So if they were drawing a face, they do it as if they were looking at it face on, side on, from the top, from the bottom, etc. So it's about all the different angles. Now, I'm not doing that to give lots of different angles of this sort of circle shapes. What I'm doing is I'm using it to try and create as if there's planes where, you can see, it gives the illusion of that circle twisting and turning rather than just being a flat ring shape. That's the plan. Now, cool colours look further away and warm colours look like they're coming towards you. So my idea here was the cadmium lemon yellow is cooler than the yellow ochre. So in my mind, it would look as if the cadmium lemon yellow is moving away from us and the yellow ochre is moving towards us. Now this is abstract and I don't want it to be completely as if, it's all in its correct orientation. It's more about creating interest. And also, I don't think I've got the capability to draw it that accurately, that it's completely in orientation. That may come with practice. It's unlikely, but it might. So the colours I'm using, I used in the original picture, the cadmium lemon yellow and the yellow ochre. So the other colours I use phthalo turquoise. And I used that because I felt it was similar enough to the turquoise green in Payne's Grey to kind of mimic those colours. And I add in a quinacridone magenta. So what I'm doing here is I'm sort of adding in more triangles. So just kind of doing it a stage at a time rather than going all in, drawing all the triangles at once. Just started with the one colour and then seeing where the picture's at then. So as usual, I have, this is, I've cut out a lot of the decision making, drying time, putting paint out in the palette, etc. So here, that phthalo turquoise, I mixed in with the yellow ochre and I got this lovely kind of olive khaki green colour. And I really like it because it's brought in this new colour, but it completely fits in with the picture. It doesn't look odd on the picture. And my idea was that this would be, I struggle with the cool and the warm colours. I know red is warm and blue is cold, but obviously you get different varieties of blue, different varieties of red, and it also matters what colours they're sitting next to, etc. So for all I was using that phthalo turquoise as a cool colour, I did mix it with the yellow ochre, so that would have added a bit of warmth to it. It's an area that I need to spend a lot more time on. Colour theory. I also, when I'm applying these paints, I'm doing it as a glaze, so it's very thin. That's why you need to water it down or use like a glazing medium or the high flow medium. Just something. I mean, you could even use matte medium in with it, but I think when I first started doing it, I just used water. And I like using the high flow medium. It's £10 for the Winsor Newton high flow medium. I like the way that with the high flow medium, the colour stays the same, whereas if you do it with water, you have to work a bit harder to keep the colour the same. So this is the quinacridone magenta, and I just wanted to add another colour to liven this up. Now, I wish I'd added a bit of the yellow ochre or the cadmium lemon yellow into that quinacridone magenta, because I think it would have just married it into that picture wonderfully. But I'll know for next time. I do think it makes, I do think that it took the picture to another level, even on its own out the bottle. I'm also using this colour quite sparingly, whereas the yellows I'm using to create trying to add, like more of a 3D look. With this quinacridone magenta, what I'm trying to do is add strong kind of, add to the composition, make it visually interesting. I'm keeping it quite centred in the circles. So while I'm glazing with this, I'm not doing it quite for the same reason that I was using the yellows. I like the way as well when you glaze over the other colours, it does, it changes the colours, and because it's such a thin glaze, all the mark making that's been done previously shines through. So this is the quinacridone magenta with the phthalo turquoise. And I just think it's a wonderful colour. So I'm using this a bit more on the quinacridone magenta's fairly in the middle, and then I'm using this more on the outside because this colour's more to support the pink colour. In my mind, I'm not 100%, I need to spend more time learning more about the colours, but I feel like having it on that more violet colour, that darker purple on the outside, really supports the pink and brings it kind of, it marries it into the picture and it brings it kind of alive, and it almost moves the eye towards the magenta colour. That's the plan anyway. So this bit here, I wasn't happy with to begin with. I felt the triangles were off and they were distracting rather than helpful. But what I feel like now is when they talk about pictures that have a kind of spiritual element to them, where it's like a triangle going up the way to a point, and I feel like that sort of purple upside down dome at the top has given this sort of look to this picture. I feel like the picture has a bit more purpose than it had before. Now, ignore the gold circles. I thought I'll stamp some gold circles on, and really wasn't happy with it. But you live and learn. So this is white fluid acrylic paint with the high flow medium, and I'm using it to glaze the whole picture. I read that it brightens the picture. I'm not sure that it did brighten the picture, but I feel that it just made it look a bit more mature, like the quinacridone magenta just took on a more mature quality and lost that kind of rainbow vibe that it had. And this does dry lighter than it looks there, but just if you're using water, just make sure you use it a lot of water. Test an area first. It's almost like, an old book, an old 1970s book with the way that they did the printing of the pictures back then. So what I'm doing now is the two main circles, I am putting white on them to enhance them more than the rest of the picture, so that the rest of the picture sort of retains the colours, but the two circles, I want it's not muted, because somehow this white does make them stand out from the rest of the picture, and I don't quite know what the reason for that is. Maybe it does make them brighter, like I read somewhere. I need to learn more about colours, and glazing I am trying to learn more about. You'll see it when it's dry. This dries very fast as well, the high flow medium with the high flow paints. I'm just being mindful of my brush strokes, just because I don't want to leave. Obviously, there's a lot of mark making in there, and I don't want the brush strokes to take away from that. I put this on quite thick, but I do take some of it back off. This one was actually harder to do because the lines underneath were already similar to the lines I'm making just now, whereas the other circle was a bit more like a fluffy cloud, so it kind of hid the brush marks a bit more. So I've done this on a gel print that I'd made, but this gel print was on 300 GSM watercolour paper. Probably, I'm not sure how well it would work with gel prints that are on, like printer paper or tissue paper. I don't think they would hold up quite as well. But you never know. But I do have other gel prints that I'm going to try, just to see what I can do with them. I do feel that this made it, although I was treating that gel print as if it was a finished piece, I do feel that this really is a finished piece now. I'm actually really happy with it. And I don't think I was thinking, could I have made this from scratch without using a gel print first? And I think that all the marks and all the textures, there's a lot of stuff on there that I don't think that I could have created without it being a gel print. And I think glazing over the top of it was so much easier because there was so many textures and marks underneath. Now I'm just trying to, that top left hand corner, I'm almost adding in a little bit more of the white paint to try and enhance that as a kind of focal point, because it was quite dark in that area. So anyway, that's it. And thanks very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you soon. Take care. Bye.